Hey Flosstube, it's Lisa Smith, Kindred Stitcher. Today is Sunday the 19th, 2020. It's my first video of the year and I've been stitching like a mad woman and finishing too. So I thought I'd come in here and give you an update before the whip parade that I have planned probably in February. I remembered to put lipstick on today. You know, I used to wear lipstick all the time. I don't care anymore. Today is the first day in a long time that I put lipstick on. So, yeah, it's a special day. Let's see. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some whips that I've been working on and some starts that I have in mind and some FFOs that I worked on yesterday. And you may have seen them on my Insta stories. So I have some strawberries left to finish, and I do hope to shoot a tutorial when I complete those. Those might not be fully finished until next weekend. I'm working on one that is a Blackbird design. It's like an accessory strawberry, and then it has a yo-yo on top, so it's a little different finish, and I have some shots done on that, but it was just too dark last night and I got tired, so I went and stitched on one of my whips until 2 o'clock in the morning. I gotta find a way to make a longer day. That's all I've got to say about that. So I think I'll start by showing you some finishes that I have and talking a little bit about those. I thought I'd show you a previous finish, and I think I've shown you this a couple times, but I love this. I love this. This is a Blackbird Designs from their booklet, Dear Heart, and it's on the back. This fabric is a similar to Called For, but it's not identical. It's by a fabric dyer who's no longer dyeing anymore. And the back is I think it's Dames of the Needle crushed velvet. And then just little beads. I didn't use the pin method, which Barb and Alma used, because that stuff falls out at my house and then it's everywhere. So just thought I'd share this. I love this. Last night when I was finishing, I laid out some smalls that I had been working on at Christmas and sort of toward the end of last year. One of them was this one, which is Stacy Nash's Meet Me by the Garden Gate. And the colors on this just are absolutely my style. I'm going to put this a little bit closer. And so I did a kind of the wonky ribbon method. And I think Shepherd's Bush had a tutorial on their web up on YouTube at one point. They may have taken it down though. This is the fabric that came with the kit. I think this has been released into a single chart now. I put this little, it's called a gourd pin or a circle pin, gourd pin or a bulb pin, I think, with a couple of little buttons on there. Just put this up so you can see. There you go. Some old antique buttons and some new buttons. I stuffed this with sawdust from our property where my husband's working on building a cabin. He was planing some lumber, and I have some wood shavings, but I also have finer material. And this is filled with fiberfill. This is like eating a pancake, and this is like eating a steak. That's how these feel. But this is like, there's something very satisfying about the weight of this. And I ironed it kind of a little bit flat. So I love this. Before I worked on that, I had another Stacy Nash kit that this came out at market a couple years. Oh gosh, it's probably been 4 years ago, if not more. I had finished this and then I added this ribbon. So in the kit, it came with the fabric to stitch on, the fabric on the inside. I added this ribbon because I wanted to be able to tie it shut, and I added one of those little pins with the buttons again. And this I used antiquing spray. Now, Country Sampler uses an antiquing method where they brush on the antiquing liquid. It's like a walnut crystal liquid. And what I have is the antiquing liquid from Primitive Gatherings, which is a company that does wool applique. So when I sprayed this, you might try demoing it if you tried it, if you haven't done it before. But when I sprayed it, it leaves sort of droplets, which is okay, right? Because you're looking to antique this anyway. I did brush it a little bit with antiquing the excess, and it's pretty heavy. So if you don't want to have a really primitive look, you may want to just do the spray and not the brush method. But I love the way this turned out. This is so stinking cute. And yeah, so there's another finish. And then I had a shepherd's bush, little small, this is Old Glory, I think is the name of it. I had finished it and FFO'd it in the past. And for some reason, I think one of the buttons fell off because kids were messing around with it. So I taped the button to the project and took it apart. And then I just bought this from Hobby Lobby. It fits just exactly perfect. And it was on clearance for $5. So that was right in my budget. Yeah. So fun finishes. Fun finishes. I did get, so here's my other framed item that I had taken in November. So the story around this frame, this is Snooty Parrots and by Barbara Anna. I had taken it in with 3 items total, and they had just gotten off I took to Craft Warehouse, which is a regional craft place in Pacific Northwest. And they had just come off of a frame sale, so I just missed it. But it was still not too bad in terms of cost for the frame. The store had 2 of the frames. One of the frames came in broken, and one came in the wrong size. So they ordered it a second time, and I picked up the first 2 stitched items, but not the third one because there was a delay in ordering it. It's 100 miles to this craft store. So I only go when I'm going down to Acorns and Threads or to my sister's, my mom's down in Oregon. And when Lori picked it up for me on the way back from Sisters, where where she's going to be retiring. So she's kind of moving in that direction. And she brought it in and she handed it to me, and it was wrapped in the paper, the craft paper, to protect it. And I'm like, this does not seem right. It's like, it was really thick. So I opened it up, and it was completely not, we didn't even look at anything like this. I don't know how they got it so screwed up. It was a shadow box, basically, that was, instead of being mounted at the back, it was mounted at the front. So it was like this thick, the frame was, and it was very contemporary. And so I immediately called them, and they said, well, it's a custom frame order. We want you to be happy. Just bring it in. Doesn't matter when. So the next time I could go down there, I did. And I picked out we kind of figured out what happened, that they had ordered it from the manufacturer, but the manufacturer had it wrong on their end. And when it came back, it's beautiful, but I still don't think it's the right frame. I don't recall picking this one out. We had taken pictures of the other 2 frames, but not this one. I don't know why. So anyway, this is Snooty Parrots by Barbara Anna. And the frame I had thought about getting was a little more red, but this is really beautiful. This lets the red kind of speak for itself. You can see the contour of it. And I just love it. This is stitched on 46 count weeks parchment. And I believe I stitched this with the over dyed threads. I did not use silk on this one, but isn't it beautiful? I just love it. And it's going to look beautiful on a sampler wall, which I'm building. I'm working on it. I'm like Bob the Builder for samplers. I am stitching as fast as I stinking can to get my sampler wall done, because Carol Salt Box Stitcher inspired me, and Barbara and Brenda Sampler Stitcher. You guys set the bar pretty high when it comes to sampler walls. So those are my FFOs. I'm just gonna put this down. Okay, so what have I been working on? Furiously stitching. Well, I think last time I was here, I showed you this one. I worked a little bit more on, this is a kit club from Dying to Stitch, Quaint Ladies Club. It was probably my favorite club this year. I really, really enjoyed stitching Pineberry Lane. Let me get my backboard here so you can see it a little bit better. This is going to be a needle roll. And I think maybe I only had the flower in the middle done last time. And now it really won't take me much longer to get this done. And then I can FFO it with my other pineberry lane that I showed you in the last video. So this one is, she doesn't have a face yet. I was stitching this when we went out to breakfast yesterday. I was at the diner, and the lady who was the our waitress, she was really interested in it, and she talked about, she was more into embroidery and crazy quilts, and but she really was fascinated with this. So it's kind of fun when you go somewhere and you're stitching and people show an interest, like the airport or a restaurant or anywhere. So that is Christmas time sewing roll. The next one is Winter Rose Manor. This came out at the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat in the fall, and it had been released at the Shepherd's Bush Retreat the year before. We could purchase it at the retreat. So I have not a big start. I'll tell you why in a minute, but this is being stitched on 40 count fresco by Picture This Plus. I love this linen. It has very subtle, beautiful movement with a little bit of green, a little bit of blue, a little bit of red. It just depends on where you are in the fabric. I bought a fat half when Picture This Plus had a sale, and you can see, let's go ahead and get closer. I did substitute the reds for some Victorian mottos. And this stitch is really quick, so I need to just get back on it, but I am working on another one that has taken all my time because I am absolutely obsessed, and I'll show you that one next. That was Winter Rose Manor. Hopefully she's going to release that this spring at market. Okay, so here's the next one. This one won't require backing. Oh, can I tell you how much I love stitching this? This is Modern Folk Embroidery, Forget Me Not. I ordered it online from his Etsy store, and he downloaded it to me. It's Jakob. I don't remember his last name. Groff, maybe? And this is being stitched with, let's see. Where did I put it? Oh, here we go. Silks for You. It's their navy color, whatever that one is. There's just one. This is a hank. There's some in my living room next to my stitching chair. But this, here's the pattern, Modern Folk Embroidery. And I'm storing it in my William Morris bag. It has the blue on the inside. I just love it. And I find myself stitching it until 2 o'clock in the morning, which is not good for Lisa when I go to work the next day. Okay, I'm going to show you the little letters. So the letters and numbers, I stitched the Z and the L. I probably stitched them 4 times until I found the right thread. I just demoed some different things and thought I would find what I wanted. And what I really wanted was a metallic, but I used a DMC first. And that didn't work. And I thought the Petite Treasure braid wasn't going to work. But when I stitched it as a 10th stitch, it was perfect. So it has some luster. It has a little bit of sheen. You can see it kind of glitter. And it just, look at this as my screenshot. I just love it. Ugh, I just love it. And this is Lakeside Linen's Autumn Gold. So it's a double dye, which means it's a little more expensive, but the color of the linen is so saturated, and it is just gorgeous. It is probably the prettiest fabric I've ever bought. And it's perfect for that project. So this brings me joy. This is why I go to work, and this is why I earn a living, so that I can stitch. And wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be just great if we had our own little community, not a 55 and over community, but a stitchers community where we could hop from house to house and coffee clatch and share patterns, share what we're working on, and not share patterns, share what we're working on, and I don't know, just collaborate and dream, and it would be ideal. My husband might think otherwise, but I think it would be awesome. I think that's it for my whips that I worked on since last time. So would not be a video if I didn't show you some things that I have planned to start as well. And I bought, I don't know how many patterns I bought online from his store, Modern Folk Embroidery. This one is called Frisian Cross Stitch Sampler. And I really love the Scottish letters. I think those are like Scottish, with the four-sided stitch on around the letters and numbers. I'm very fascinated with that. I loved Scotland when we went and visited. I would love in retirement to go and stay a month somewhere in Scotland and just travel more. I plan to stitch this on. This is Vintage Fawn by Lakeside. And that's pretty good representation. Very pretty fabric. And I'm going to use the Silks For You red to stitch this. Silks For You is, I was like, I ordered 2 more things today. They were $30 a piece. So what I'll say is that as I stitched and I substituted this on a couple of other pieces, it is, it's not, the fibers are a little fuzzier, but as a monochromatic stitch, you won't notice that. If it's next to another silk, you might notice it if you're looking very closely. But it is, oh, I could just, wouldn't you love sheets that were made out of silk? Wouldn't that be something? I don't think they last very long, but yep. So that's on my to-do list. That's on my start list. Oop, there goes my fabric. And the next one is, I've been talking with Becky from Socks for Mom, and we talked about starting one. I have it, Becky, I have everything ready to go. This is the other half of my Picture This Plus fresco. And this one will be Susan Rambo. Susan Rambo will be on this one. And I did buy the NPIs. Isn't that gorgeous? Doesn't that just say spring to you? I'm dying for some color right now, let me tell you. It feels like spring. I know it feels like spring's going to be here before we know it. So this is definitely on my short list to start. I know, you guys. Crazy, huh? And then the last one I've had kitted up for a while is Esther Edison by Chessie and Me. This is on I think this is a Victorian motto. It looks like Legacy, but it's not. I'm pretty sure this is a Nancy Turner's dyed fabric. And here's the threads that'll go with that. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that red. I just want to start stitching that ASAP. Right, Laura? From Modern Mozart. She's like, everything when they were shooting their last video, everything was, I need to start this like ASAP right away. So let's see what else is going on. So I've got an ironing board right here that I got all my stuff on, and stuff's falling over the side. It's okay. Stuff for haul. I picked up I picked up the Vintage Fawn. I picked up Vintage Maple Sugar, which is really pretty. It almost has a pinkish cast to it. Got a fat quarter of that, and I picked that up from Acorns and Threads. And then I got Vintage River Willow, and that's a fantastic color. Now it looks really stripy. It is kind of stripy. Looks kind of stripy on the camera, but if I open it up, does it look any different? It still looks a little stripy. Oh, maybe it's just the way it was folded. And I wanted to show you all this. I've been looking for something like this. It's a vacuum cleaner attachment kit, and I got it from Annie's Choice, anniescatalog.com. This is fantastic for cleaning out your sewing machine. I was having some issues with my sewing machine when I was sewing some project bags. The bobbin was gunking up. It would not sew correctly. So I went onto YouTube and watched a video of a woman cleaning the machine. And I had gone in the house and I asked my husband, do we ever do that canned air? I need to go in and clean my machine out under the bobbin. And he's like, I don't think so. And when I watched the video, the lady said, do not use canned air. I was like, thank goodness I didn't use that. Because you don't want it to blow in farther. You want to pull it out. So then I saw this and I thought, I'm going to order this and see how it works. It'll work in your sewing machine. It'll work in your keyboard. But this adapts down to your hose that you pull off on a push vacuum. So probably work in your car in the places where you can't vacuum. I picked up this gorgeous book. Somebody was showing this on Instagram. A couple of people were talking about this. And so I went and picked it up. And it is full of etoiles and smalls and groups of smalls. Great finishing instructions. I'm going to show you the one that I was really drawn to that I hope to stitch. Here it is. The Swan Bower Etoile. Oh my lands. This reminds me of Teresa Baird's finishing with the Dupioni silks. There's just the beautiful materials. So Amazon Prime. I think that's where I got it, was Amazon. Reasonable price. I picked up from Acorns and Threads Ann Thomas. And I see all of you who are stitching this, and thank you for enabling me for buying this pattern. It's gorgeous. And I don't have it kitted. I'm going to watch some people stitch it and decide what threads I'm going to use. I'm not sure about the fabric either. I picked this one up from, I think maybe this was Kitten Stitcher. And the picture they had was, I mean, look at that rose. Oh, I think the picture I saw online might have been the stitched piece, the reproduction, and not the original. That's gorgeous. This one is Carolyn Braden, 1801 by Threads of Gold. And I'm pretty sure I got this from Kitten Stitcher. And I know I got this one from Kitten Stitcher. Elizabeth Gray, sorry. This is the Scarlet Letter. And I have something special in mind for this. But I'm not going to tell you. I'll just have to show you in the future. And then I did pick this up from Teresa. This is Summer House Stitchworks. This came out a few years ago at Market. And I have picked it up and put it down, put it in my cart, and not bought it for I don't know how many times. And I really, really like this. So I finally just bought it because, gosh, don't you love it? All right, I'm going to just take a pause, and then I'm going to show you a couple things that I picked up, and I want to talk to you about them. Okay, so I have a couple things to show, a couple of acquisitions, and I believe I've not shown you this in the past, but this is a sampler I bought online. And this is, I don't know what kind of sampler this is. I put something behind it because this is super thin. In fact, I'm going to show you. When I pull it up, you can see the holes in this from the wear. But the person who framed this double-sided it with glass, which is clever, super clever, right? And so the this has the roosters and the bowers with flowers, the central wreath motif, and the beautiful alphabet. What I love about this, even though there's a lot of scarce pieces where there's no linen behind it, you really don't see water damage or fading. So the person who stitched this, sorry, I'm trying to keep my reflection out. There we go. The person who stitched this must have kept it out of, damp places. But the the base linen had to have been pretty fine. The stitches are very tiny. I would say this is probably, oh gosh, it's probably smaller than, it's probably a 5260 or smaller. I do plan to reproduce this, and I may move this one around. It might be an inspiration to a more modern sampler, but I thought I'd share that with you. It does not have a name, or it doesn't have a name, and it does not have a year that I could see. And the open spots above the roosters don't have anything stitched. So it's not like something was there and it fell apart. It just didn't have anything. So it's interesting, that design element. We're used to filling up the space, and I will see what it looks like when I stitch it, the reproduction, if that's something that I want to continue with, or if I want to move motifs around. We'll see. So this one, I'm going to step back a little bit. This one I picked up just recently, and it was an eBay purchase that had to buy it now. It was pretty expensive. I made an offer, a significantly less offer, and the seller took it. So it just came in the mail, and they wrapped it really well. I mean, bubble wrap, 2 or 3 layers of cardboard, corner pieces, all of it, but the glass broke. So next time, lesson to myself, I might just ask them to take the glass off before shipping. But the colors, you guys, look at that red. Holy cow. This is Mary Ackroyd, and it's her sampler. And what I love is it says Mary Ackroyd's, dated 1846. So it's like after the fact, when she signed it, she goes, oh, dated 1846. So you can tell what drew me into this. And this was the color saturation. I mean, I love this color. I just could not quit looking at the sampler, and it relisted at least once before I made an offer. This is what I'll say about Mary Ackroyd. This is going to be a challenge to chart, because nothing is really symmetrical. Even though it is symmetrical, it's not symmetrical. You can see this bouquet is down a little bit and this one is up. And there's pieces of that I might just decide to clean up. I have not decided how exact I'm going to be. The border might be a little challenging. The flowers actually kind of change as you go around the border, and you can see there's nothing in this corner, and they come down. There's a few stitches past, which I think is kind of the charm of this. Those birds, look at those crazy birds. I love them. I think these are squirrels. And this girl, this is the central manor with the annex buildings. We decided they were she sheds. These are like little chapels, is what I think that they are. So I thought that was fascinating. And there are different stitches in the middle, sort of like a basket stitch. And then this was a blue thread that has faded. So I am looking forward to working on this one. It's a focus for me in 2020. I have now a couple samplers to reproduce, and I sort of ran into a wall last year. I've got the charting software. I've figured it out for the most part, but I need to just make it more of a priority. I'm having so much fun stitching everybody else's charts that I'm finding it difficult to focus on it. So now I will probably work on the next group of project bags, but then we'll probably not sew project bags for quite a bit this year, because I really want to get these charted and released. So exciting stuff. I think that's it. I used to really despise January. It felt like the longest month of the year. It was definitely, it would drag on. I worked retail, and when you're in retail, you see the same stuff, all the things that are on clearance that didn't sell at Christmas, and you're waiting for the bathing suits to come in. And that was a long time ago when we would buy a season ahead, but it wasn't quite as crazy as it is now. But I'll tell you, I love January, because every weekend I am stitching or finishing, I am planning, I'm maybe sewing, or if I'm not doing that, we're doing something where we have a plan, right? Yesterday, my husband and I went to breakfast, And we'll be in the living room together. But the spring will be coming soon, and he'll want to go up to the property and work on the cabin. So I'm getting as much of my work done now, as much of my creative work done now as I can, so that I have some capacity to go with him once the weather turns decent. Today we're about midway through January, and before you know it, it'll be February, and February brings daffodils. Then, before you know it, the lilacs will be out. So I measure the seasons by my garden. I would like to spend more time in my yard and my garden this year too. I have a lot of plans. And we'll talk a little bit about whips and a whip parade and some plans in the next video. Have a great day, and we will see you next time. Bye.